So we're just going to have a chat about a very special engine from the Volkswagen Group, the VR5. It's quite an unusual engine. It was produced during the late 90s, early 2000s, and it's one of those niche engines, but it's a particularly interesting design. We're unlikely to see anything like it again. The VR5 configuration was unusual. It had a distinctive noise. It's got so many fans and followers. It's unbelievable. Considering it's had a relatively limited production run, it didn't appear in that many production models. There are so many people out there that love these engines, so I think we're going to see these engines for a long period of time. So this video, we're just going to look at the VR5. We're going to look at what makes the engine so special, so memorable, why it's found such a fond place in people's hearts nowadays. So when it comes to engine layouts, you've generally got an inline layout where all of the cylinders are in line in a straight row. You've got a V configuration where the cylinders are staggered at an angle. They generally have two heads, two sets of camshafts, and each of the V banks is operating effectively as a separate engine but on the same crank. And these engines are notoriously smooth and give a really nice power delivery. So what Volkswagen have done is they've taken the idea of an inline four-cylinder and a V6 cylinder, and they've really merged it together to create this unusual VR engine. So VR actually stands for V-Reinmotor, which is literally an inline V. So what they've done with the V configuration is change the angle. It's only 15 degrees. So effectively the heads of each of the cylinders is almost adjacent to each other. So you've got a compromise here between the V configuration and the inline configuration, which allowed Volkswagen to use just one head to control both sides of the engine. But here's the unusual thing about the engine. It's got 5 cylinders. Because the engine cylinders are arranged at different positions, you've got different intake lengths and different exhaust lengths coming out of each of these cylinders. So because you've got an odd number, you've got an odd number of intakes of the same length and an odd number of exhaust at the same length. And that's really the primary driving force behind the unique engine sound of the VR5 engine, which is one of the key factors in making it such a popular and sought after engine out there for projects. Its diminutive size and design also made it suitable for transplanting into lots of other cars. So the Volkswagen Group themselves, they used it in the Beetle, the Passat, the Golf, the Chiron, and also it was used in Seat models. The Toledo and the Alhambra all came with a VR5 option. So I'd like to say that the VR5 was the only 5-cylinder V engine in production, but I understand that Honda experimented with the V5 engine, although I don't think it actually made it to production. I think that was a motorsport development that went on. So it really is quite unique having these 5 cylinders creating this odd number of intake lengths and exhaust lengths. So you've got to bear in mind that 3 of the banks will have slightly longer lengths on one side and shorter on the other, and the other 2 banks will invert that and they'll have shorter banks on one side and longer banks on the other. So in terms of power output, it was a phenomenal little engine. Bearing in mind that this was naturally aspirated, it typically put out about 150 to 170 horsepower. We've seen engines out there that are producing nearly 200 horsepower. And when you do some tuning on these engines, the sky is effectively the limit. With the right mods, you can make some serious power gains on that. So that's my overview. I've really just dumped all of the knowledge I've picked up over the years and that I've done in recent research on the VR5 engine into this video. Please let me know in the comments what you think of it, what things I've missed, what recommendations you would make, and hopefully I can come back and redo this video in a few years' time, and I might even have some nice footage of VR5 engines. So if you do have some footage, let me know in the comments, and I would love to have that footage so I can incorporate that into the next video we put out for the VR5 engine. But if you're interested in tuning cars, getting the most out of your engine, and just what the different performance upgrades are in detail, this really is the channel for you. So please subscribe if you haven't done so, because we would love you to stay tuned. Please boop that like button, because that really does help us to get out there as a recommendation to the algorithm, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.